Hi there, Joka here from A Pocket Full of Happiness, and today I want to show you the new products that are available in the shop. And these are all dyes, standalone dyes. And the first one here is called Christmas Floral. Just like the name suggests, there's some flowers in here, layered poinsettia and some berries and some leaves. And on some of the die sets, I have some samples on the back where I felt like it's important to show what it looks like put together, or how I imagined these would work, rather than just showing every piece. But I don't have this on every die set. I'm also going to show you a few samples that I made up here, this one. Here I actually created 3 layers. I just used the second layer twice, and here as well. And this is quite the same as the sample on the back of the packaging. Now, up next is the geometric Christmas tree die set. I think this one is actually good all year round, because this doesn't have to be a Christmas tree. You can also just use it as a triangle. You can fill these slots with different color cardstock or pattern paper, whatever you like. And I also added some stitching detail to that solid die, just so if you want to just use the solid piece, there's just something little extra detail to it. Some samples here. Oh, and I also would want to mention that I have some process videos on the channel today. Every 15 minutes there will be one dropping. I think there's 6 altogether. And for these 2 cards and the previous ones, I have process videos. Here I just embossed the background with, I think it was from Cuddlebug, the embossing folder, just because it was white and I wanted to have some texture. And then this piece and the other sentiment, they are also from other new die sets that I'm going to show you soon. And also this background die I will show you in a second. Then I also have video for this card set. I didn't mention that before. And the next one here is the Dear Santa die set. As you can see, this is quite a few pieces. But what I did here, some of the pieces are grouped together, just so that you don't lose the smaller pieces. There's 2 sentiments, the joy and the holly jolly. And yeah, so here I also added a sample card, just and also the pieces colorized, just so that you see everything here. And now what I did with the grouping here, I try to group them according to color. So for instance, this one here, you would normally cut from white, so it's easier to cut them together. But I couldn't do this with every one of them. Like here, normally I would cut the boots and the gloves from black, or maybe even the buttons. But there's also this additional small piece, that's the nose, that would not be black. So you could just add a tiny piece of different color cardstock there, and then just die cut that alone, so on its own. But I didn't want to not group it, because small pieces like that just disappear. Now the body and the hat, and then this one here is a part of the arm and the pants. I grouped them in two pieces because I kind of imagine these in two different reds, as they are on the packaging as well. But obviously you can die cut it from whatever color you want to. And then this weird shape here is the face. It doesn't look like much here, but it will make sense once you die cut it. Those are the eyes at the top, then the cheeks just below that, and then the mouth. And of course, you could just place some color cardstock behind it if you don't want to inlay such tiny pieces, but I normally die cut them and inlay them so that the surface is flush. I also have card samples with this and a process video just so that you see how these pieces are put together. I have a video with these two cards here. So this is how the Santa is kind of supposed to be, waving with one arm and leaning onto a board with the other one. But on this one, I actually did something a bit different. I show that in the process video if you're interested, but I cut off the arm, and then I created, with the use of the other arm, I created kind of like a different look so that he's holding that board a bit differently, so he's not waving. I also have this frame, and this one is embossed. It has like a wooden texture, if you can see that. And the rectangle itself has a stitched detail edge, just in case you want to use it separately, not with the frame, that it's a little bit different. And these two backgrounds are also new dies. I'm not sure why the video is shaking. I hope it will not be shaking when I'm ready with this, but yeah, if it does, I apologize. I'm not sure what happened. Okay, so this next one is called Merry Christmas. And this one is a two-piece die set. There is this rectangle with stitching details, and the letters here fall out. You can do an inlay technique, or you can just place a single color cardstock behind it, or you can do a stripe design and place that behind it. And then there's this shadow die. And actually on the back of the packaging, I'm showing how you are supposed to put together those letters that fall out of the rectangle with the shadow die. You should line them up on the left and the top, and then you get this shadow effect. And then you can create colorful designs with that rectangle. It's a fun die, and here I'm also showing that you can place it in the Santa's hands, but of course it's bigger than the board that I designed with the Dear Santa set, so I actually had to make the Santa's body a little bit longer, that you cannot see here. I think it's not out of proportion, but he's taller here than he normally would be. And by the way, I have a video for these two cards as well. And on this card, I'm showing the other option that you can do with those letters using the shadow die. And then this background, the basket weave cover plate, is also a new product. Next up is the Peace on Earth Sentiment die set. As you can see, there's two dies in this, a shadow die and the sentiment itself. I like my shadows to be not much bigger than the sentiment, and I like them to have some of those details, like the inside of the P, C. As you can see, I like those to be cut out. I don't like shadow dies as much that are just a big solid die. Two samples here. These are very simple cards. The background here on the left is actually made with a stamp from last year. It's called Chevron knit background. I'm showing this in a video, not with these two cards, but in a recent video. I think there's butterflies on the card. It's very simple to do this background. It took me maybe 10 minutes, so it looks a lot more labor intensive than it really is. And then this one here is just a die cut, and then it's backed with red paper. Super simple and quick card. I did use the just the piece on several cards that I made. And then this joy here is from the Dear Santa die set. Another sentiment here is very merry, also two pieces, again, same concept as before. You could maybe use the very merry shadow on its own as well, although the V and the E are not so, maybe not so well, how should I put this, visible, but maybe it works fine. And now here I use the Mary on its own, just the letters, and here I used both the shadow die and the very merry sentiment. And as you can see, all the letters are separate, so you can create a colorful design. And this one, oh what fun, is the exact same concept. I like to add as much color to my project as possible, so it was important to me that those letters are separate, so you don't have to cut them apart, and you can die cut them from many different colors. And of course, if you die cut them from all the different colors, then you can mass produce them basically. And you can see that the shadow die here would work on its own as well. Now here's a sample card, and it's the same card basically as the previous one with the very merry, just a different color. And these squares actually are the tree trunks from the geometric Christmas tree set, and they perfectly fit on these in these slots. This is a happy accident actually. Now the next one here is Here's to 2022. There's a Happy New Year shadow die and or not shadow, actually this one is not shadow, it's a backing piece, so you can use it on its own or with the outline as a second layer. Same with the numbers. As luck would have it, we have 2022 next year, which is only two different numbers, so I thought I'll just add those to the die set here. So you can basically create different looks with this one. I created a few sample cards. This one is with all the rainbow colors, and then this background is a part of the Argyle Pattern Builder stem set. This one I'm only using the numbers, and then I embossed happy onto color cardstock multiple times, and then this happy stamp is from the Clean and Simple Christmas stamp set from last year, and it just says Happy Holidays, and I masked the holidays part and just embossed the happy part. You can do this with happy birthday stamps or whatever you have. You probably have happy birthday stamps. This one here, I just used the frame, the wooden frame from the Dear Santa set, then the Argyle Pattern Builder stamp set for a little bit of something there, and the basket weave background that I will show you just now. So This one is another cover die. Like I said, I like to add lots of different colors. This is not for everyone, I realize that, but I do love inlay technique. So yeah, I like to create dies like this. But I also have to say, white on white with these kind of dyes is wonderful. I think, at least it just gives a texture in the background, but it's still beautiful. Now here, this one is of course filled in with all the colorful pieces. It looks labor intensive. It may take a while, but it's not as bad as you might think. If you put a double-sided adhesive on the card base, not on the die cut, then you will have glue already on or in these slots, so you can just really quickly fill in the in these shapes. But you have to make sure that you want to fill every one of them, because otherwise you will have glue sticking out there. So I only do this when I know that I want to fill every hole. And by the way, for this, I'm using this double-sided adhesive from, I think it's called Elizabeth Craft Designs. This one is 6 inches wide, so it's very quick to cover an A2 card with it. And this one, here I just partially filled it, although not a lot is missing, but you can see that there's no glue there, so I actually used liquid glue on this one, but that takes a bit longer. Next up is the stitched Argyle background cover plate. Again, you don't have to stitch this. I think it looks beautiful without any stitching, but I did create these 2 samples where I actually stitched them differently. I created different designs with the colors, but yeah, I then covered up the whole design with those huge sentiments, so you really cannot see. But I went with darker aqua colors. Then this one is a bit different. I used variegated thread, and I actually used 2 different ones, and I stitched each square, the big squares, with a different color, but it kind of looks like just one variegated thread from coral to purple. So yeah, you have to choose your colors wisely, but you can stitch that in a variety of different ways. Now this one is a sample of it without any stitching. You can see it's just some texture in the background. Now everyone's favorite is this Paige Evans design called Sweater Weather, and honestly, this turned out so much more beautiful than I even imagined. I was really pleased with it when I first die cut it. Yeah, it's a very detailed die. So you will, I will give you some tips in a second. Again, you can leave it unstitched. You saw a lot of samples with this as just a textured background. It's beautiful, but you can obviously add stitching as well, and I will have some samples for that as well. This one here is without any stitching, and this center as well. So you can see it's really beautiful. So if you are not much into stitching, it's still something that you can use. Now the stitched samples that I have, I try to do a couple of different looks. Here I actually stitched every single hole, as you can see. But if you don't want to spend that much time on it, you could just go from the first directly to the last hole, if that makes any sense. So leaving the, the ones in between. And then it's much quicker, but the look is still gonna be really beautiful. So, and then I created a silver kind of frame. Again, you see that you can do many different designs with this. Another rainbow kind of card, because I think New Year's celebration deserves that. And I also have two Christmas designs. Here I used various variegated thread, for every flower a different color, but because it's variegated, it has different colors in that thread. So, you know, the whole card, it looks like it's full of color. On this one, I did a bit of a different design. I just stitched the outline of the flowers. So yeah, you can see the difference. I don't even know which one I like more, but I think, I don't know, both of them are just really pretty. And then those sentiments are from the Peace on Earth set, and the Joy Comes from the Dear Santa set. And yeah, the one thing I wanted to mention still is, because this is a very detailed die with a lot of tiny holes, you would need a metal shim so that it cuts better. I sent it through. I have a Spellbinder's Platinum machine, so I cannot really say anything about the other ones. But it's just a normal sandwich with the shim under it, and then I just ran it through back and forth, and that's it. And it was die cut perfectly. But then my friend Martina tried it with a Sizzix Big Shot without a shim, and then she had to do 2.5 back and forth, so 5 single run throughs on her machine, and then it die cut. So the other tip that I can give you with this die is that you use a brush similar to this, and this is, I think that's the newer one, and that you clean your die and your die cut after every single cut, because otherwise, if you die cut several times, all the tiny papers will compress and they will be pressed into the back of the die, and the brush cannot even remove them. So I did try this just so I see how it would work, and I had to use a needle to push everything out, but it was really hard. So I really think it's better to just spend a couple of minutes after die cutting, and just to clean up the die right away. And also maybe the die cut, if you leave those pieces in, maybe the next cut is not gonna be so pretty. Although I did not have a problem, I did test this, but I had stitching dies before that had that problem. So the last one here in this release is another Paige Evans design. This is called Nordic Christmas cover plate. It's actually the same poinsettia as on the stitching die, but this one is made of squares, and it's a larger design. And again, you may think I'm crazy, but I like inlaying, and even though these are quite small, I still did that. And again, this also doesn't take as long as you might think. I use the double-sided adhesive like I mentioned, and then if you don't want to mass produce things, then you can just die cut sections, like the half of that petal from various colors, and then you can quickly place those squares back in place. And all squares are the same, so it doesn't matter where you cut, they fit in every hole. I did try this as well. Now this part, the gold part, I had adhesive there, but I didn't want to use color cardstock, so I poured some gold embossing powder in there, and I embossed that. I heat embossed it. Nothing happened with the adhesive, so I guess it works with the embossing powder just fine. Okay, and then I have two last cards, and I have a video for these two as well. Here I just kind of went monochromatic, so to say, all pinks and reds, and then I created two different designs, as you can see. But you can really play around with this. You can um, play with placement on those petals, so create different designs. I think it's really fun. I like I like this. I don't know. I never liked puzzles that much, so I don't know why I actually enjoy this, but I really, really do. Okay, so that's it for today. So that's 12 die sets. I hope you like them. I hope you give some of them a try. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye bye.